Weave from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Thanks, Gregor. Good afternoon, Nate. Welcome to Winnipeg. Sounds like there was quite a push from Paul Stastny and maybe some others. What can you tell us about the full court press, and what convinced you to waive your no movement clause to come to the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually going to say something first about that. I know there's some things out there we talked a little bit about with the staff about last year and things like that. And I was never asked to put anything, talk to last year about a trade to Winnipeg. There was never a conversation that said, hey, like, would you waive to go to Winnipeg? And I said no to. Just want to put that out there to start. And for this one, let's say it was kind of the same thing. On Monday, a lot of things were coming in. And I just said, I need a day or two just to talk to guys and get a feel for everything. Guys that have played here, there, before, after, just to kind of get a feel for just kind of everything that's going on with all the options that we had. And so I said, Paul and I have, had a really good relationship in the last couple of years. I'm still staying in touch with him, obviously, this last year. And you know what? It's just, he's an awesome guy, a straight shooter. And he said, it's they get treated really well. The staff and the guys and the organization, they do a great job with players. And when you're here, you see such a tight group from top to bottom, which is awesome. And he said, you know what? And if you're, have an attitude of going and having fun at the rink, things are going to, and he goes, it's Minnesota North. Like, he goes, what's the difference? You're only a couple hours away anyways. So, it was something that, you start looking at, you get excited about the group, you get excited about talking to Coach Maurice, and seeing what type of, what kind of guy he is and why he's, garnered such respect around the league and from players that are on his team and players that are off his team, that played for him. You add all these factors in, and I think it was something for me and my fiance that, we'd look at and say, hey, a little bit closer to home as well. Mom and dad, can pop up a little easier now. Hopefully the borders will be all open, all that stuff this year. So, all things considered, is the reason why we're sitting where we are today.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you very much, Gregor. And just reiterating what Ken said, welcome to Winnipeg, Nate. Just when you look back on last year, would you categorize yourself as one of those players who, it was such a unique and challenging season that perhaps you just kind of erase that and start fresher with the Jets?
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. This last year was really tough on everybody, Kelly. I think that's a big thing that when you look at last year on the whole, I mean, our group in Vancouver, it was hard. You go through a COVID situation. It was just, it was hard to kind of get yourself back. And when you did, yeah, you come back and win a couple of games, but all of a sudden you're exhausted as the year goes on. And when you lose a couple of games in a row, it just kind of brings a toll on you. And it really affected me as well, especially, I mean, I'm someone that really kind of thrives off of, energy and fans and having that thing. And I think a lot of guys are. I think guys realize more of that this year than they've ever realized, how important that is to have people in the building, and important it is to, have that energy on a Tuesday night when you're playing. You're like, oh, we just played our fourth game in 5 nights. Like to have, to come to a hometown crowd that's ready for us to be home, right? And I think that's something that this last year was really tough on. And for me, I know that there's a lot more to give than what I've had, and I don't really like the way that I had played this last year. And like I talked to Chevy yesterday, I said I know there's more to give, and I'm probably my harshest critic on how I play, and I know that there's more to give, and I'm excited about starting fresh in Winnipeg.
Go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Gregor. Morning or afternoon, Nate. Not sure. Are you in Minnesota?
Yeah, right, come on, same time. Come on now.
But wasn't sure. The Brendan Dillon gets added by trade on Monday night. The Jets already had, Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk, Dylan DeMello, Logan Stanley. Like, have you talked at all or thought in your head, who you might play with and what that might look like on the blue line?
Yeah, you know what, Mike, it's a really cool thing to be able to see how much this decor has kind of changed in the last 24 hours to 48 hours. I actually just spoke to Brendan Dillon today. got a lot of rave reviews from a lot of his former teammates. So I was excited to see a guy that's, rough and tumble and being able to come in hard to play against. I used to play when he was in San Jose, when I was in Vegas. Not a guy that our guys, liked playing against. I think you look at this group, and I think you add myself and Brandon to the group. I think it's such a great way you can look at how the pairs could possibly line up. There's a lot of options. Guys that can play out like myself, that can play the offside. You got a great defenseman, Josh Morrissey, that can kind of do everything for you. Pionk is a guy that's, an up and coming guy that can really, open a game up for you. But Stanley and Dylan make things tough to play against. I think there's a lot of different combinations. And, I play against Dylan DeMello all the time in the minors, and then obviously, the last couple of years as well. Really solid player. I think we got such a group here that is really fluid and can play with a lot of different combinations and things. I didn't get too far into it with Coach the other day. Just was more excited about the possibility of, maybe playing with Josh or Neil, whoever it may be, to have an impact with somebody like that we can bring more to the table as an entire group.
Next is Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks, Gregor, and welcome, Winnipeg, Nate. Just kind of building off, you were talking a little bit about, your game just wasn't up to, your standards last year. What do you bring to the Jets, and what was, what did you think was missing other than on the ice? I mean, opposed to maybe what was going on off the, obviously with COVID and all that.
Yeah, all the stuff, all that COVID stuff aside, I think that, like I said, for me, I didn't have my feet moving as much as I have in the years past of getting up into the play and being a little bit more in your face defensively with how we play. And, as going back and talking with guys about how our style is here, I think it's going to suit me to get myself to be more, up in the play defensively, like, closer to guys and, check with your feet a little bit more. But I also think that the biggest thing for me is I think I loved watching Neil and Josh this last year, like skate, moving pucks up and being that second wave. And that's something I don't think I was as good as I had been in Vegas or in Washington in years past. And I think that's something that when I get back to that this year is going to add a lot more that dynamic back to my game that I didn't have this last year. And I think that's something that, like I said, with talking to Coach and seeing how, things could work out and whatnot, and systems, all that stuff. I think that's one of the biggest things for me this year and moving forward and just getting back to playing, my brand of hockey and, in this system and working, with our D pairs, and just kind of moving as a group together forward.
We'll go next to Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Nate. Just a quick clarification, just about when you first kind of came off the top about not denying Winnipeg or something. So there was no change of heart this week. It was more of just a process. And I just need a yes or no. You don't have to go into it.
It was just anytime you have a big career change, right? Like I just said, I just kind of want to just run through it all and make sure that, that they're comfortable, I'm comfortable, everything, and that's something that when you look back at it, that was really all that it was. It wasn't like on Monday said, oh, I'm not ever going. And then Tuesday I said, oh, just kidding. I actually would have I went up to my hunting land and just like, it was just like chopping trees down and cutting some trails, just kind of clear your head for a minute, just kind of process everything. Just kind of clear your head and make sure, you look at, man, this is going to be a great move for me and for the team. Just need a second to 24 hours, 48 hours just to kind of decompress. And it was a wild week with everything going on. You've seen what's going on in NHL this last week. It's been crazy,
sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to ask about like the business, right? Because I know when you got traded last time, it was a tough pill to swallow how you figured things out. I think this is your second trade in 10 months. I know this is a business, but on top of that, you have a reputation of being a pretty charismatic guy, an energetic guy with the media. And I'm wondering how much of that personality has helped you kind of absorb some of the maybe not so great parts of this business.
Yeah. I'm a guy that wears my heart on my sleeve. And so the last time around, it obviously was a lot different, because it was something that you felt a little bit more, I don't want to call it blindside, but just shocked by what had happened. And you know what, this time around, you kind of felt like, things weren't maybe working out, and you're trying to find a place that's going to work and be excited about going to. And that's why I think we are where we are right now today. And I think for myself, and Paul and I talked about it, having that little extra pump in the step around the rink always. We'll see how the guys are, if they're ready for the energy.
Go next to Paul Edmonds from 680 CGOB. Go ahead, Paul.
Nate, thanks a lot for taking the time. When you're packing to come up here in the fall, bring your bow.
Hold on, before you get in that, I actually am curious if I can do that. I love shooting the bow in the backyard, so.
Let's see what happens. You'll have to check the border first.
Yeah, see it. If anybody's got any land, then make sure to let me know.
Matt Henrik's had a connection here. You might want to talk to him.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're a left-handed shot. Old school guys will say that you should be able to play both sides. You have. You've played a lot of right side. When did you move over more permanently? And I guess the follow-up question is, with the time that you've spent on the right side now, are you almost most comfortable there as opposed to going back to your natural side?
Yeah, you know what? It was kind of, when I first came into the league, it was really that adapt or die thing. It's either you can't play Brooks Orpik was playing the left side. I wasn't moving Brooks Orpik wasn't playing the right side. So like, hey, can you play the right side? And I was just like, yep, sounds good. And I played a little bit in college. I played with Brady Shea a little bit in college as on the right side. So I said, hey, yeah, that's not a problem. Whatever it takes to get me in the lineup, I'll play. And so, and just kind of evolved from there, right? And then I played most of the years with him, or Taylor Chorney or Michael Weber would play on the right side. I played a little bit with John Carlson at the end, which was I flipped back. But, having that ability to flip back and forth, I think it helps for a lot for versatility, especially with pairs. And, I played on the right side the entire time in Vegas, whether it was with Braden McNabb or if we'd be down a goal, I played with Shea Theodore. Really just kind of, and this last year with Alex Edler, I've played more on the right side than I have, than the left side. But again, don't feel not comfortable. I think to be honest, sometimes it's easier to play D on the right side. A little bit harder on some breakout passes, but it's usually easier to play D because your stick's extended to the outside. You don't have to cross your feet over, cross your body over. So it does actually provide, in my opinion, a defensive advantage. But sometimes it can be harder on the breakout when guys maybe start to use your backhand a little bit more. But I've gotten used to that over the last 5-6 years, so it's not that big of a change for me.
Next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Nate, welcome to Winnipeg. I like that line you used about wondering if the team is ready for your energy when you show up. How do you, this is a two-part question, hopefully I don't convolute it too much, but how do you expect your energy to affect this Jets team? And clearly that energy derives from you being excited. What makes you most excited about this Jets team and the potential they have?
Yeah, you know what, sometimes for some guys it's a little bit of a shock, a little bit, Bo Horvath used to always say it was always the electric factory every day when we'd walk in. So, you know what, it's just me. Like I said, I kind of just, I be me, and I'm not really, I guess Braden Holtby used to say, unapologetically you, right? You just kind of do you, and you just go from there. And for me, if you mind checking me back on the second part of your question, I'm trying to think here. I was going somewhere with this.
I was just, your energy clearly comes from the fact you're excited. What makes you most excited about this Winnipeg team?
Yeah. Playing against this team a lot last year, right? And you see there's a lot of things to this group. I mean, I saw a forward group I enjoyed going out and playing against every night, right? And I think we got a tremendous goaltender as well. And I thought that, this D-corps, they brought in Brendan Dillon, who's a guy, like I said before, he's a really good player in our league, tough, hard to play against. It's just I really liked how this is shaping up, how this Jets team is being put together, and Chevy, when we talked about it yesterday, and he's like, hey, this is what we want. We want guys that want to be here and want to rock and roll and want to win. This is what we're looking for, and that's what I'm looking for. That's what I was looking for. That's what you want as a player, and that's just kind of the idea of coming forward. Hey, got a great team, got a great group of forwards, a fantastic goaltender, and now our defense is looking like a defense that could, in my opinion, that can go help you win, and go help you win the whole thing. That's what we want.
Next to Carter Brooks from Game On. Carter.
Hey, Nate, welcome to Winnipeg. Yesterday, Brennan Dillon mentioned to us he'd been here for some weddings. What do you know about Winnipeg? You've talked about Minnesota North. You talked about some hunting. What do you know so far? Who do you know? What kind of friendships do you have here? And what are some experiences you've had so far with Winnipeg?
I remember the first playoff run we had a couple years ago, and not being able to hear myself, and my ears were ringing for 3 days after we played here. You know what? I haven't. I wouldn't say I've spent a lot of time outside of visiting, just like as a player on the road. You know, I know a lot of guys from the area, but Ryan Reeves, Mark Stone, the guys at Cody Eakin, one of the guys that I talked to before this whole thing kind of went down. You know, I'm just, like I said, I'm most excited of seeing, like, guys. You know, a lot of guys talk about there's more to the city than what meets the eye. And that's what a lot of people had said about when we went to Vegas. Oh man, like, you live on the Strip. It's like, no, there's a lot more that meets the eye with this city. And like, Winnipeg is no different. There's a lot more that meets the city than what you see when the guys come to town, right? There's a lot more to the people. There's a lot more to, you know, just going to the rink every day. It's got a great feel to a great hockey community. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day is what kind of draws, you know, a guy to come in, and when you have a great team, helps as well.
Go back to Kelly Moore from CJ. Go ahead, Kelly.
Nate, just further to that 2018 Western Conference Final, and you talking about your makeup as a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. So knowing what it's like to play here from your previous visits with Vegas, how much do you think that's going to help a guy like you personally, who I'm guessing is just going to feed off of this crowd?
Nah, I'm telling you, there's I don't know if I could last doing what we did last year and the year before. I just think, you know, us as players, everyone kind of feeds off the energy, but I don't know if I'm more of that. You know, you just soak it in and feel that vibe from your group. And, you know, sometimes a smaller building can really trap that energy and trap that noise. And I think that we have that. And I think that's something that, you know, when I look back, when you got the whiteout coming in, or what, you know, and then you're like, wow, like, this is it. Like, you could see the lines buzzing outside, people, you know, amped up when, you know, during warm-ups, you know, like, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes, you know, playing hockey, you know, the best job in the world, right? It's being with the guys, getting the energy, and being, you know, playing in front of fans, and having a chance to win it all.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Nate. Appreciate you doing this.